Welcome to rSlash Nuclearrevenge, where OP puts his evil uncle in prison. Our next Reddit post is from Deleted. I've always been the black sheep of the family. My cousins grew up to be doctors, professors, creatives, and whatever else. Meanwhile, I've managed to just make a humble, stable passive income through some business decisions. Nothing fancy, but I can afford a 1-bedroom in New York City and lived comfortably with that, and a part-time job in a cafe. Everyone in the family, including my own parents, judge me harshly for not pushing myself to do what my cousins do, especially my one cousin, Randy. Think the stereotypical dude bro who got rich thanks to working for his dad. Multiply that by 10 and you get Randy. Anyways, Randy always gave me the most flack, and eventually I just tuned them out because I get to enjoy my life with my significant other, work part-time, and still afford what I want. So, to cut the story short, Randy has a wife with 2 kids, and he also has a mistress. I found this out because one day when I was walking through the city, I saw him walking down the street with a woman who clearly wasn't his wife with their arms around each other. I checked Facebook and saw that he had indeed posted about visiting a bagel shop in the city while on a business trip that morning. So I decided, screw it, let me see how this plays out. I followed them for 5 hours, snapped several photos, one of them going into a hotel together. I held on to these and waited until Christmas that year, about 6 months later. I decided to unceremoniously drop printed photos in front of everyone at the table before dinner and made sure his wife got to see them. Cue screaming and fighting. I actually got a black eye out of it. It was Randy's dad who did it though, not him. Cue police, a lot of questioning, my significant other and I getting kicked out. And we head back home after talking to the cops one last time. The aftermath. Besides Randy's wife and another cousin who hates Randy, my family cut me off entirely for several years. Whatever, even my parents had always expressed disappointment in me for not applying myself fully, so no real loss there. Randy got divorced. He lost full custody of the kids after threatening his ex. My family occasionally tries to guilt me into apologizing, but my response is some variation of, not gonna apologize for outing a cheating grunt, and I'm promptly blocked for another few months. My significant other and Randy's ex-wife are good friends, and the kids call me uncle. It's nice having a family who actually loves me unconditionally for once. My significant other and I got married, and that's when my family last tried to get in contact with me and were actually nice for once. Seeing me move on, I guess, eats at them. I don't know. Maybe because they realize their punching bag is gone for good. That's it, really. Living the best life now with a good family as opposed to a terrible one. OP's living that saying, the best revenge is a life well lived, but I'll be honest, it is a little bit better if you can ruin the jerkbag's life in the process, isn't it? Our next Reddit post is from Goodfella. So this story happened a few years ago, back in 2016 when I was in my senior year of high school. I'll start with some info about the victim in this story, or in better terms, the butthole who got what they deserved in the end. My dad has 3 older siblings, and all equally terrible human beings. They bullied my dad for years and made his childhood hell after his parents divorced due to him being slightly darker in skin tone than them. Grandma's white, grandpa's brown-skinned. They were abusive, racist jerks, and the worst of them was my older uncle. He was a big bully and a snob who saw himself as better than anyone else. All the bullying and bad treatment messed up my dad mentally so much that he became a raging alcoholic, which made my life a living hell. I moved out 2 years ago, and I'm still dealing with many traumas from my dad to this day. Anyways, in my country, the most important year of your life is your last year in high school. There's a nationwide exam that determines if you can even go to university or not, and the success rate in this exam is fairly low. Basically, if you fail, it's either you drop out and move to low-paying jobs that will never amount to anything due to our country's bad and declining economic state, or you just keep repeating till you get your degree and go to your university that you don't even want to be in, but at least it's a safety net that can get you out of this country hopefully one day. Things did not go well for me due to family issues and me having undiagnosed ADHD at the time, which was causing me a lot of academic problems at the time without me knowing the cause, which in turn gave me depression. It goes without saying that I failed that year, and due to the importance of that exam, people saw it as a shame and kind of a big letdown. Needless to say, my family never had a good relationship with my uncles. Bear in mind, my uncles stole my dad's inheritance, including a house and a piece of land, which could have at least lifted my family up to middle class. Anyways, my big uncle, whom I last saw when I was 7, came to visit us 3 days after I failed my diploma. I already didn't like the guy after all the stories I heard about him, and the visit felt weird, like he had no business being around us at all, and somehow he came uninvited. My mom sat him down and started making the usual small talk, and then he called me saying that he wanted to say hi. I went over and the conversation was as follows. "Oh, look how much you've grown up. It's been a while since I've seen you. You look just like your dad. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree after all, even in terms of being a successful person following his footsteps." Then he let out the most loud, sarcastic, evil laugh ever. I said, "What do you mean by this?" "Well, I heard you failed high school. I guess your branch of the family is bound to be the loser side." I said, "You better shut your mouth and F off. No one wants you here anyways." "I guess your whore mom didn't raise you well. What did I expect from hood rats like you?" After that, things devolved into a shouting match and he left. After what happened, I was mad for a while. I couldn't forget the humiliation, and I decided one day I would exact some revenge, and I started plotting. I did some digging and I discovered that all of his businesses and assets are in his wife's name, and he basically owns nothing due to him committing tax fraud and ripping off his former business associate out of a lot of money before declaring bankruptcy and transferring all the money and everything he owns to his wife to evade taxes. I came into contact with former employees of his that agreed to testify if things ever came to court due to him just being a terrible human being all around and treating them like absolute trash while they worked for him. I couldn't have hoped for a better outcome. He came to our house again to speak to my dad because he wanted my dad to make a golden custom ring for his daughter for her 10th birthday. My dad is a jeweler. While he was in our house, he asked me for a phone charger because his phone was dying. And at that moment, I almost jumped with glee. This was my chance to get in his phone and dig around. Maybe I could find documents or emails that could be used later in the police case that I was assembling against him. I told him I didn't have a charger, but I could charge his phone with a cable from my laptop. Him not knowing any better, like the boomer he is, gave me the phone without batting an eye. His phone had a passcode, and asking for it was too suspicious, so my plan to check his email went down the drain. But still, I removed his SD card, put it in my laptop, and copied all of his files, then charged his phone and gave it back. He eventually left, and boom, I locked my room and started to check all the files. I found nothing, but as soon as I was about to give up, I found a well-hidden file with a few videos on it, and I struck gold. A full-blown love-making tape of him with another woman, with his face fully clear as daylight, and I was literally singing to myself from excitement. So for a few weeks, I made a Facebook account that made it look like it was his mistress's account, and I made a bunch of other accounts that looked like friends and family commenting and interacting with her. After that, I sent a friend request to his wife and texted her saying, "I'm your husband's mistress." She didn't believe me at first, until I gave her so much personal info about him that she had to believe me. I told his wife that he told his mistress that they were divorced and he promised to marry the mistress. The wife requested that she talk with me on the phone. I got a female friend to help out by lending me her voice. The wife was destroyed after I sent her the video as proof. After that, she filed for divorce immediately and sued him for infidelity, which lost him custody and visitation rights for his girls. She took everything from him, even the house and all his money and assets, which were in her name. Overnight, he became homeless with 0 pennies to his name. But that wasn't enough for me. I met up with his former business partner through a former employee who especially hated my uncle's guts. And I told him everything and that the employees were willing to testify against him in court, and he agreed to file a lawsuit. The cherry on top came when his ex-wife testified that he threatened her safety and her kids' safety if she didn't let him put the assets in her name by force. And she literally pulled out phone recordings that she had of him being abusive, and him saying that he would kill them all if she didn't let him basically use her as a tax evasion tool, and that she was scared to use these recordings due to fear for her kids' safety. Due to their previous divorce case, the judge didn't need to hear anything more. My uncle got hit with 15 years in jail so fast he couldn't even comprehend what happened before he was on his way to the slammer. He'll never see his family again. He will never have his fortune back. Just to add insult to injury, I visited him a year and a half ago, and I just said one sentence. "This would have never happened if you just hadn't called me a loser," and I left. The look on his face when he pierced everything together almost cured my depression. I never told my involvement in this story to a soul except my little sister, my female friend that helped me, and now you, Reddit. But I had to make him know just to be able to finally sleep at night. Our next Reddit post is from Ranthro. I'm a 35-year-old guy, and I own a 72-unit apartment complex. When I bought it, it was in good shape, and I spent several $1,000,000 getting all the apartments renovated. The rent wasn't increased for any of the tenants, and I made sure that it never went up by more than $50 a year for lease renewals. Shortly after all the renovations were completed, I started the search for a property management company, and ultimately settled on one that seemed well aligned with putting the tenants first. As we were doing the contracts, I made my real estate friend also look at them. Between him and my lawyer, they recommended adding a clause in there. Basically, if there's any legal actions brought up against me for the apartment complex due to neglect of the property management staff, the property management will be responsible for all those costs and any legal fees incurred. This wasn't added in secret, and the legal team from the property management company agreed, and everything was finalized. They took over management of the complex a month later. I was fairly hands-off and only visited the site every 3 to 4 months. Other than that, I'd have monthly updates sent to me by the manager on site. A few months ago, I found out that a couple of the apartments had been left in severe shambles after the tenants moved out, and the cleaning crew had to take care of it. I didn't find out until after the fact that it wasn't completely accurate because one of the apartments apparently had a bad roach infestation in the storage closet outside the apartment. After the new tenants moved into that apartment, they brought up the issue with the site manager. In the monthly reporting, the site manager claimed that maintenance staff tried to address it with traps and bug bombs. I didn't think too much of it and left it at that. Next month, the same problem. And the third month, after receiving the monthly report, I called the site manager stating this is a reoccurring issue and that I wanted it taken care of professionally at that point. That month's rent was waived for the tenants in the apartment, and they were put up in a hotel for a week while the issue was addressed. Once the tenants returned to their apartment is when the issue started. The site manager, either by mistake or negligence, didn't communicate with the exterminators the extent or the location of the infestation. Instead of fumigating the storage closet, they fumigated the apartment. And after that, the roaches made their way into other apartments in the same building and the nearest building, and the problem got so much worse. The same option was given to all the tenants in that building, waiving that month's rent and putting them up in a hotel for a week while the issue was addressed. They all took that offer up. However, one of the tenants decided to take legal action. While I wasn't happy about it, I understood where they were coming from, having their lives disrupted by something that should have been addressed properly to start. As we were in the midst of negotiating with them during mediations, my lawyer reminded me of the clause with the property management company and suggested to just give the tenant what they want. This is where I started my nuclear revenge. I had the rest of the tenants from the 2 impacted buildings be suggested to anonymously that one of the tenants had filed a lawsuit for the damage and they should do the same by getting in on it. Through the mediation, I pretended to be outraged at the whole matter. The negotiation started off at 3 months of free rent, but ultimately we all settled on 1 year of free rent for all those tenants. Overall, that came out to 16 apartments with rent averaging from $1,700 monthly that the property management had to pay for due to negligence of the site manager, equaling to roughly $325,000 in just the lost rent they had to pay for. And the cherry on top, due to the breach in service for property maintenance, they also had to provide free services for up to 6 months, while I seek out a new property management company, which cost them an additional $146,000, and still pay for the legal fees on top of that. Cool story, but if you want to know the really crazy thing, $1,700 a month in rent, times 12 months a year, times 72 units means $1.46 million of revenue per year. That was r/Nuclearrevenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.